Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 41 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. And I have a fantastic guest on deck for this week's episode with former OU basketball coach Sherri Coale. But before we get there, I wanted to run through this week's Sooner headlines of the week and a quick summary on some injuries. We're not doing a injury segment with Dr. Jason Lina this week since, thank goodness, we didn't really have a lot to discuss. No specifics on any of the injuries that we have, and no body parts or anything that we haven't previously discussed. So I gave him the week off from the show. Thank goodness again for not having a lot to talk about as far as injuries go. And again, thanks again to Dr. Jason Linen for joining me each week to talk about all of those things. Unfortunately, we've had a few interesting topics to discuss the last few weeks, but for this week, Derek Simmons, we talked about him last week with his injury. He went out of the Texas game pretty early. Turns out it was a high ankle sprain, not a knee. He was available and did play at South Carolina, so that is fantastic news. Keontez Lewis did not play on Saturday. We are unsure why. Kendall Dolby also did not play on Saturday, and we are unsure of those details as well. Javonte Barnes, he has not appeared in either of our last two games, and Coach Venable said this past Tuesday that he sustained an injury during pregame warmups of the Texas matchup. He said that Barnes was able to practice some this past week despite of the injury, and said that something happened pregame. Initially thought it was a hamstring or something else, but it will be a short-term thing. Don't really have a lot of other information on that. He is moving around. He is practicing some, so that is good news on that. As far as the game goes, Gentry Williams did go out with a possible arm/shoulder injury. Again, don't have a lot of details on that. Coach Venables did say that early prognosis on that shoulder is positive. All testing has been negative, so very good news there. He was in a sling on the sideline in the second half. So again, don't have any information, any other details on that. So not much to cover on the injury front this week, which again is some good news because it doesn't sound like anything serious. And side note on Kyler Murray, which Jason and I did talk about last week in the injury segment with his Liz Frank injury of his foot. He did have some limited practice this past week. He was out of the game this past weekend. His backup did play for him, Jacoby Brissett, but he did practice some. So that is some good news that possibly he might have a quicker return than anticipated. So again, good news for Kyler Murray. And that's about all I have on the injury front for this episode. Again, thanks again to Dr. Jason Linen, who's joined me the last several episodes to discuss anything that we have going on. But he took a break this week since we didn't have a lot to discuss. And on to this week's Sooner headlines of the week before we get on to our fantastic interview with former OU basketball coach Sherri Coale. But our NFL guys have been looking fantastic on the gridiron in the last few weeks. Tonight is Monday Night Football. As I'm recording this, Baker will face off against Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. I am wearing my LFB Let's F and Bake shirt. I am in Baker mode today. I'm really hoping that he has a good showing, something good for me to talk about at our next episode. Kyler, again, was inactive, questionable with his foot, but he has practiced, so that is good news for him. Jalen completely balled out yesterday in a huge win over the Vikings. He had a perfect passer rating. He had a 45-yard pass to score and steal the win over the Vikings. 18 of 21, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns. And also, welcome back CeeDee Lamb. He finally got back on the field after his injury with the Cowboys. He had a 70-yard touchdown against the Commanders. Tress Way just putting on a punting masterclass with the Commanders, speaking of. And also, we had the battle of former Sooners Spencer Rattler and the New Orleans Saints. And Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. The Bears did come away with the win, 26-14 over the Saints. Rattler was 20 of 32 for 233 yards. He did throw 3 interceptions. Caleb Williams was 15 of 26 for 172, and he did have an interception as well. But what an interesting, fun game to watch there with our former Sooner quarterbacks battling it off at the next level. And another shout out to former Sooner Nick Benito and the Denver Broncos. He has really been playing well for them, so shout out to him. And we have have so many Sooners across the league to follow. Of course, we have several on the Chiefs as well. So I highly encourage you to watch those teams when you get a chance and support and follow our former Sooners as they are on at the next level. On to our football game versus South Carolina this past weekend. A quick shout out to Tori Blaylock for being SEC Freshman of the Week. And also, we are officially bowl eligible as we notched our 6th win on the road in Columbia this past Saturday. 26-7. What a great road win for the Sooners. We come in notched at number 13 in the AP poll for the week. It was very interesting to see some photos and video, especially from the media guys up in the press box. The State Fair was right outside of the booth in the stadium. So how interesting that the Sooners play at 2 consecutive state fairs, 2 weeks in a row, being Texas and South Carolina. Don't know if that's ever been done before, but how cool for our fans and players to get to experience that. Michael Hawkins did not play this past Saturday as John Mateer lost his helmet in one of the plays, had to come out for a snap. Everyone noticed that Whit Neubauer did come in for that one snap, and they were all up in arms about it. But you guys, it's not that big of a deal. Calm down. I'm pretty sure this is just my speculation, but I'm pretty sure if something major were to happen with John Mateer at any point going forward, there's a decent chance, considering on what things are looking like and where we are in the season, that they would pull that red shirt from Hawkins to let him play. I'm assuming. But given the point in the season, Mateer has recovered well, obviously played very well Saturday. It looks like he can handle things going forward. Fingers crossed, many prayers that he stays healthy. Michael Hawkins will retain that red shirt and that extra year of eligibility. And I'm not going to be sad about that because I think the kid has a lot of potential, a great future ahead of him. And so to have a little more time with him and just for himself is a fantastic thing. Taylor Wine just keeps making plays and big plays week after week. He is really putting on a show, and it's just incredible to see these guys that put in the work, that are getting the shout outs and really seeing that production on the field. Potentially a touchdown saving tackle. And how about Reggie Powers? He had that big hit as well. Just pretty much knocked that kid into next week, I'm pretty sure. We had our best run game of the season by far. Shout out thanks to the O-line for being a little more violent, coming out and really getting it done. I'm glad to see that from that group of guys. Of course, again, it sure was nice to have Derek Simmons back out there as well. But Blaylock, again, being SEC Freshman of the Week, had 101 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Satanga had 7 catches, 73 yards and 1 touchdown. Those were the 2 standout players of the week with the game. And so just an incredible outing in South Carolina again. The downside of that being, if you watch the first half, it was ridiculous. We had 8 penalties just in the first half alone. Fortunately, that did improve in the second half. We ended the game with only 10 penalties, but it was 98 yards in penalties for our team on Saturday. Just totally unacceptable. But again, we kind of got our act together a little bit in the second half, and it just was a little crazy out there on the field. But Mateer had a great day. Again, 18 of 26, 150 yards, no picks. So shout out to Mateer. Looks like he's recovered well. Again, so glad to see him looking good back out on the gridiron again, and heading into a busy week with Ole Miss coming to town for our homecoming game. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff, and it's going to be one of the biggest games, especially home game, that we've had in a while. Definitely one of the top 3 biggest games of Brent Venables' career. I know I've said that before this game, but this one really is a big one. Ole Miss is coming off of a loss this past weekend, and so they're not going to be very happy coming into Norman, so they're going to be mad. So we've really got to get our stuff together. I hope our offense can really stay together, that O-line stay violent, John Mateer stay on point. We really just need that. SEC Nation is coming to Norman before the game. They will be broadcasting live from the South Oval, 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. for their shows. And it's interesting to think about Vandy, if there are a legit SEC contender going forward. They are undefeated. I'm glad that we don't play them this year, at least in the regular season. There's a decent chance if things go forward as planned, as we hope they do, we do meet them in the postseason somewhere. So that'll be interesting to see. Also wanted to just mention, I don't have a lot of detail or information on this, but Brent Venables did mention in his presser last week that Jaden Gibson is no longer with the program. Again, not sure of the extent of that or what brought that on. All the details, I'm not going to go and speculate on that, but he is no longer with the program. Also wanted to mention, in case anybody missed this, I believe it was last Tuesday that all of this took place. the Big 12 tweet debacle. It's just kind of crazy that this even happened, but just a brief rundown. Again, I'm not trying to stir up any drama or anything. It seems to have died down a bit, but Venables made a comment in his presser last Tuesday about playing in the SEC, and he said that it is a one possession league. This isn't the old Big 12 days where Oklahoma destroys everybody every single week except for one game of the year, end quote. The Big 12 Conference official Twitter account did go back and retweet that and quoted and said, Coach Venables lost 8 conference games in his 2 seasons in the Big 12. Well, for one, that's not a very professional thing to do as you're representing a official conference social media account. Just very unprofessional. Second of all, apparently someone forgot that OU won 14 of the last 29 conference championships. So until someone else is able to accomplish that feat, I don't really feel like anybody else has much room to talk. That's just my opinion. I feel like if you don't have at least 6 championships, you have no room to talk to OU about any of that. And that list is currently no one. So again, just an interesting interaction there. Them taking some offense there to something that Coach Venables took from his press conference. And again, I truly think, just from the context of it and everything, Venables is referring to the program as a whole. It has nothing to do with the fact of when he was at the helm or anything like that. OU was a member of the Big 12 Conference from its inception in 1996. And again, we won 14 of 29 conference champions. So again, until someone can come remotely close to doing that same thing, I don't really feel like anybody has any room to talk or to dog on OU football. Again, just my opinion. However, especially in the years past, Brent Venables has many conference championship rings from his time with Bob Stoops at OU in the early 2000s. So again, him in the quote old days, if we're going to throw it back even to a quarter of a century, he has more Big 12 championship rings than any other coach in the Big 12. So anyway, there's that. Just wanted to mention that for those of you who missed it. Was a big deal on Twitter, on X, on social media. I did share that on my Instagram, Facebook stories. So if it's something you want to go back and look into, there was quite a few articles going around about it. So just something entertaining, I guess. Never a dull moment with college football. Shout out to our men's basketball team. They traveled to SEC Media Days this past Wednesday. Nigel Pack, Darian Reed, and Tay Davis traveled with Coach Porter Moser, and they represented our university as well. Coach Porter Moser did say that Notre Dame transfer Tay Davis could win National Defensive Player of the Year. Sounds very promising going into the season, which starts in just about 2 weeks. Porter did make some comments about the portal, and I thought it was, again, very promising going forward just to hear his outlook on things. And honestly, it is a process and just the way that a lot of people are going to have to look at this thing going forward, because it's just the day and age of the portal that we live in, and we just have to embrace it whether we like it or not. But he did say that they're changing their roster approach by leaning into the transfer portal. Everybody came in and said, Porter, you were at a program at Loyola where you developed guys, and this has got to be driving you crazy. And he said, although yes, it was at that time period, he was glad to have the opportunity to do just that, but he's completely leaning into the portal now because that's just how it is. That's where he's going to get his talent, build his roster, and that's what you need to win games, win tournaments, all of that. And so shout out to Porter for adapting, learning, changing in this ever-growing landscape of college sports and the portal and all that that entails. Again, our women headed out to media days this last week with Coach Jenny Baronchek. Isaiah Van, Peyton Furholst, and Reagan Beers accompanied her. They do come in at a preseason number 6 in the polls, so shout out to our girls. I'm super excited to see them start their season here again in just about 2 weeks. I recently interviewed Peyton Verhulst and Beatrice Culleton, and their episodes of the podcast will be airing later this fall as basketball season approaches and continues on through the winter. Just very excited to watch these girls. Elia Chavez, Megan Beers had a great show out. Apparently we had a closed scrimmage against Baylor this past weekend, 88-77 win for our girls. According to On3 Sports, just an incredible win there, even in just a preseason outing. As we know, those Baylor girls are usually usually very talented. So just another great reason to look forward to basketball season. If you haven't already made plans to get out and see either our men or women's teams, now is the time to do that. Schedules are out, tickets are on sale, season tickets, mini packs, single game tickets. The ladies have a lot of great teams coming to town. LSU and Kim Mulkey will be in Norman in February. South Carolina and Dawn Staley will be in Norman in January. The NC State is the ACC SEC matchup on December 3rd. And there's plenty other great games. Again, the guys are having a lot of conference tournament teams that are coming to Norman as well. Alabama, Arkansas, Florida. Check the schedule out. Make a point on your calendar to get out and support these squads. It's going to be a great season, and I'm super pumped about it. I wanted to give a quick shout out as far as women's gymnastics goes. Their schedule is out, so again, make a point to get out and support those girls this season. Season tickets are on sale for them now, and they're pretty affordable. Single meet tickets usually go on sale end of November, December. So stay tuned for that. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to Danae Fletcher, who has been with our program for several years. She recently announced her retirement due to just not recovering well from some injuries that she had. She did intend to come back this season, but unfortunately had to go ahead and call it quits. But I recently sat down and interviewed Danae and talked with her about her time at OU and how she ended up with us and her decision on retirement and just going forward in her life. And she's just the sweetest girl. I cannot wait for you guys to hear that conversation with Danae Fletcher coming up later. Our baseball guys have been dominating at their fall games this past weekend. 18-1 win over Tech in game one. Their second game, unfortunately, was called due to inclement weather on Saturday. We had several standouts. Connor Larkin had a freshman, his first home run. Jason Walk, of course, still hitting his homers, doing his thing. LaChance hit a grand slam. Just some great time, great weather to get out and support our guys for some fall ball at L. Del Mitchell. Next up on this Friday, the 24th at 6 p.m. for the Fall World Series Inter Squad. So get out and check those out. Also, our softball girls I had a fall game against Oklahoma Christian this past Wednesday. I was able to attend that. And it was just a home run derby, basically, against a pretty good team. Oklahoma Christian has had a decent squad the last few years. So to have them come into Love's Field and us honestly completely obliterate them was very fun to watch, promising as always. We ended up beating them 35-0 as the final in that exhibition 10-inning game. The attendance was a fall record that night with 2,837 people at that game. There were 10 home runs hit and only 2 hits allowed the entire 10-inning game. Again, just incredible outing, multi-homer night. Just like a derby, Kendall Wells, Nellie, Ella, Cassidy, Gabby, Isabella Emmerling, Cheney, just those names that you all know. And then new freshmen, Kai Miner, Agbayani, Tia Malloy. We also saw Berkeley's Zake in the circle, and that girl has got quite the variety of pitches she's throwing out. I saw where she pitched like a 47-mile-an-hour pitch, and then her next pitch was 60-something. So we're looking at a 20-something-mile-an-hour changeup just from pitch to pitch. That's just an incredible showing from Berkeley's Zake, our freshman in the circle. Again, Sydney Berzon, our transfer from LSU in the circle, also had some great innings. And Kirsten Deal, steady and true for our Sooners, again with a great showing in the circle. The softball battle series does continue this coming Friday at Love's Field. I do believe baseball is free. I don't think I mentioned that. But for softball, $10 admission, general admission, great seats. Go pack it out, you guys. There's a home game Saturday morning. A lot of people will be in Norman. I hope they show out at Love's Field and support those softball girls. It is so much fun to watch them. And again, Kendall Wells is really showing out. She could be our next great player behind the dish. She's really showing out at the plate. Wow, I'm very excited. Not that anyone is surprised by this, but for the future of this program, Patty reloads. She just does. Tyler McComas said, again, back to Kendall Wells, she is definitely OU's next great catcher. 6 home runs so far in 4 fall games, and she's only a freshman. And she hit several this past Wednesday night. Just an incredible showing by her. But again, get out and support the girls at their fall games. Check their schedule. Again, $10 admission. It's super worth it. Great seats. A time to get out and really see these girls. It's just like a game. And it's just a great opportunity to get out and support them. Our soccer girls, shout out to Caroline Duffy for winning back-to-back SEC Defensive Player of the Week awards. Our soccer girls are now sitting at a 10-3-4 record after a 1-1 tie at Auburn on Thursday and a 4-2 win over Texas at home on Sunday. It was senior day, free admission. They gave out super cute scarves. It was a great day to be at John Crane Field. I'm so glad that I was able to be there. Shout out to my girl Hadley Morrell and head coach Matt Mott. I hosted them on my podcast earlier this summer, back in July. I highly encourage you to go back and give that one a listen, especially if you're a soccer fan. I'm also in the progress of getting in touch with another current soccer player to do a soccer recap here in a few weeks when their season is over, but I am hoping they play in deep into November. They did clinch a berth in the SEC tournament with their win over Texas yesterday, so they will be playing in Pensacola the first part of November in the SEC tournament. So shout out to our soccer girls. They are so much fun to watch, just so much fun. Again, their home games were all free. They did just have their last home game though, so unfortunately you did miss out. They do have one more game on the road, and then they will go into postseason play. So fingers crossed that they make it deep into November with that postseason play. Our wrestling schedule is out. I'd just like to point out that Bedlam is in Stillwater on Sunday, January 11th. Tickets are on sale now. I did get mine through okstate.com. My husband is a poke, for those of you who don't know. So we stay on top of all of those things, but I wanted to pass along that information in case anyone is interested. General admission tickets, I think, were only like $20. Super cheap, a great opportunity to get out and support our wrestling guys in a very hostile environment, a very fun environment. If you've never been to a wrestling match in Gallagher Iba Arena, they really go all out with it. So an opportunity to watch them in that setting, it's going to be something else. So I hope that you also get out and support them. Their home season, they play at McCaslin Fieldhouse, and I don't believe the single meet tickets are on sale yet. It's a very affordable way to get out and support our guys, though. I will be interviewing our wrestler DJ Parker in the next week or so, and I will be airing my interview with him in the coming months to get ready for wrestling. So I hope you guys, again, check their schedule, get out and support those guys. It's just so much fun. I love highlighting all the different programs that Sooner Sports has to offer. So I'm really looking forward to talking to DJ soon and getting that episode out to you guys. Our volleyball girls unfortunately lost to Texas A&M on the road this past week, and also unfortunately lost in Austin to Texas on this past Sunday. They battled back and forced an extra set, but unfortunately were not able to pull it out. But again, those girls are just so much fun to watch. They battle, they fight, even if you're just watching them online on the SEC Network Plus. Just so much fun. But they are actually back in action this coming Wednesday night at Florida. So the day that this episode drops, they will be playing that evening. And so you can catch that on the ESPN app. They have a 12-6 record, so they are still sitting pretty good, hopefully, for the postseason. So here's hoping they close out their season in the next few weeks with several more wins. And I have been talking with Sydney Thompson, who is one of our current volleyball players. Again, I will be visiting with her at the conclusion of their season to do a season wrap up and chat about her time at OU and the volleyball program. So I'm looking forward to getting that episode out to you guys in the coming months as well. And our tennis program, I snuck over to the courts after the soccer game this past Sunday and watched the guys practice for about 15 or 20 minutes. It was a gorgeous day. I saw my friend Bruno practicing on the court, so I wanted to go over and try to say hello to him. I was not able to say hello to him, but I did get to watch them warming up for a bit. But shout out to my friend Bruno Naveen and the men's tennis team. I hosted Bruno on the show back in July this summer, and he is such a great guy, just has an incredible story and journey on how he ended up at OU. So if you're a big tennis fan or just want to hear his journey, go back and give his episode a listen. You will not be disappointed. It's one of my favorite interviews that I've done. Very, very, very touching. He's sacrificed a lot to get where he is. It's just so cool as I watch those guys practicing on the courts this past Sunday. I was looking at them, and I know a lot of them are from different countries, Sweden, France. Bruno's from Africa, Mozambique. And I think of their journeys and what got them to Oklahoma and how they're here basically alone. And that's what Bruno talked about in his interview. It was just really cool to hear and think about what all those guys sacrificed to chase their dreams. And so I want to get out and support them. Same with our women. We have a lot of women from across the globe as well. And I cannot wait for their spring schedules to come out. A good way to get out and to support them at home. But our women are hosting the ITA Central Regional Championships in Norman this week. And our men are also hosting the 25K Norman Open this week as well. So if you're in the area, you may try to check their schedule, see if they're home, stop on by the tennis courts. It's usually free to get in, inside or outside, and watch those squads competing. They're so much fun to watch. But our guys, they claimed all 3 NCAA qualifying spots in the ITA Central Regional, the third time in the last 4 years that Oklahoma has swept both singles and doubles. 5 of 8 single rounds of 16 spots were Sooners, and 3 of 4 single semifinalist spots were Sooners. So again, our women, Chloe and Gloriana, are headed to the doubles championship. As I'm recording this, they're playing today. So I don't have an update on how that ended up, but I'll be posting that in my social media at Sooner Girl Pod on all platforms. I share a lot of that on Twitter/X and my Instagram and Facebook stories. So you'll want to check that. Then our women are off to Orlando on November 3rd. But there's a lot going on. Again, just check out social media for updated scores and information and traveling for our tennis squads. And when their schedules come out for the spring, I will be sure and let you guys know so you can plan a time for sure to get out and see them. A quick shout out to our cross country team. A total of 222 points is an 8th place finish for our Sooner women this past weekend at the Arturo Barrios Invitational. And also our men finished with a 2nd place finish at the Princeton Fall Classic men's 8K in Princeton, New Jersey. So shout out to our cross country teams for competing and representing our university well this fall. And the SEC Cross Country Championships are on Halloween in Knoxville. So again, follow them on social media or follow myself. I'll be sure and share those updates, information regarding that. And I've been talking with the head coach, James Thomas, of our cross country track and field teams. He is one of the nicest humans you will ever meet. And I'm going to be able to go by and check out one of their practices here soon. And I plan to get out and check out some of their meets this spring at home. Their schedule is actually out. Their indoor and outdoor meets this coming winter and spring. So make a note, there's several opportunities to get out and support them in Norman. And I actually interviewed Coach James Thomas on the podcast again back in the summer, so go back and give him a listen. But he talked about how he tries to run the home meets in a very efficient manner and have all of the Sooners competing in a pretty condensed time frame so that you're not there all day long if you want to come out and support your Sooners. So stay tuned on social media as those meets come up in the winter and spring if you want to get out and support them in Norman this coming season. Our rowing girls are headed to Princeton, New Jersey on November 2nd for the Princeton Chase. And another shameless plug for an upcoming episode, former rower and my friend Micah Thompson will be coming up on an episode at the end of October for Crimson Chronicles. She talks how she was born and raised a Sooner fan. She ended up at OU. She's been an athlete her whole life. She wanted to compete at that next level, tried out for the rowing team, and talks about her experiences there. And she also worked for the athletic department for several years after her graduation. So I'm really looking forward to you guys hearing that conversation on the episode at the end of October. Our golf girls, our women are ranked number 19. Savannah Barber is SEC Golfer of the Week. Our Sooners finished 2nd in Tulsa after Savannah Barber won the Route 66 Invitational honoring Dale McNamara with a record-breaking individual win for Savannah this past Tuesday. Next up for them is the Jim West Challenge at the Kissing Tree Golf Club in San Marcos, Texas, which is October 19th and 20th. They are wrapping that up today as I'm recording, so I don't have any final scores on that, but I will update you next week, and I will again post those on my social media at Sooner Girl Pod if you're interested in finding out those results. Our men are headed to Eagle Point Golf Club in Wilmington, North Carolina. Again, October 19th through 21st, they are playing their 2nd day of that as I'm recording this for the Williams Cup. So again, check out their social media, my social media, and I will be sure and give you an update on that on next week's show. Also, don't forget, we have lots of club sports at OU: lacrosse, rugby, hockey, club soccer, even women's wrestling team, all sorts of things. I share all the information that I can, that I come across regarding that on my social media at Sooner Girl Pod on all social platforms. But I want to give a quick shout out to our men's hockey team. If you listen regularly, you know I attended my very first hockey game this past September. I had the best time. They are so much fun to watch. I have been watching them on their YouTube channel when they have home meets. They are available on their YouTube channel to watch for free. You can also follow on their social media for all the updates. Shout out to my friend Lauren Monticelli. Her son Nate has been scoring a lot of goals, and it's fun to follow them. Nate is the brother of OU's former pitcher Peyton Monticelli, who did transfer to LSU in the offseason. But Lauren has been a great supporter and follower of the podcast for a while. So I love following Nate and the men's hockey team. So shout out to them. They've got games that last all through early next year. Plenty of opportunity to get out and support them. So be sure and check out their schedule on their social media, or I'll be happy to help you find it. If you need help, just shoot me a message. Just so much fun to watch. Again, get out and support all of our Sooner athletes, regardless of the level, because it's just so much fun to watch. My Sooner MVP of the week is back-to-back SEC Defensive Player of the Week for our women's soccer team, Caroline Duffy. She is so much fun to watch. She is just a beast on that field. I got to attend 2 different soccer games this season. Again, she plays in pretty much every game. Just an incredible player. She is a senior. So shout out Caroline Duffy, my MVP of the week. Just so much fun to watch that Sooner soccer team. My Sooner fun fact of the week: Leroy Selman was an Oklahoma defensive lineman who was selected in the 1974 NFL draft as the number 1 draft pick. He was also the first ever draft choice for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And as listeners, we know we have become very fond of the Buccaneers in recent years due to our favorite Baker Mayfield just totally balling out, being a good franchise quarterback for them. But throwback for those of you who did not know that former Sooner Leroy Selman is also a Buccaneer. If you did not know that, I've been to that stadium, and they have their ring of honor around the stadium, and his name is up there on the stadium forever etched into Buccaneers history. So it's just super cool to have now Baker as another Sooner etching his mark into Tampa Bay history. So thank you all, you guys, for listening to this week's episode. I hope that you will go out and follow, download, subscribe, share with a friend, do all the things. Again, I'm at Sooner Girl Pod on all social media platforms. I would love to see you there. I have some merch for sale if you want to support the pod. That's a great way to do it. I'm also doing a pink special for breast cancer awareness this month. All of the proceeds on these black and pink shirts will go to my local chapter of Project 31. Project 31 exists to embrace, educate, and empower women and families affected by breast cancer to live fully restored lives. You can find out more at project31.com. Again, my slogan is on Wednesdays, we talk sports. I have a black shirt available with pink writing, and I have a pink shirt available with white writing. And again, through the end of October, all of the proceeds for these shirts will go toward my local chapter of Project 31, which has been so beneficial to so many people in my life. And so you can order those shirts at soonergirl.bigcartel.com. And again, all sales proceeds through the end of October will go toward Project 31. But also, it's just another great way to support the podcast as you wear your shirt, and it gives you an opportunity to tell people about it. Also, sign up on my Substack. It's soonergirlsportspod.substack.com. You can sign up for free to get my newsletter, The Playbook. It's my monthly recap on all things Sooner Girl Sports Pod. You won't want to miss out. Sign up for that. It will be coming soon at the end of the month. And my locker room, girls, if you have not joined yet, you want to join that, you can for only $5 a month on my Substack. We had a great online huddle with my friend KREF radio personality Travis Davison. Joined us last week to do a little Red River rivalry review. And we just had a lot of fun with Travis. So again, thank you to Travis for joining us. We had the best time. And I have some other great things coming up for my locker room girls, some giveaways. You get a discount on your merch. I have some more future guests coming up for our online huddles. We meet monthly on Google Meet. Just a lot of fun. We do some in-person meetups, lots of great things coming up. So if you want to become a part of the locker room, you can check that out on Substack as well at only $5 a month. And if you are an individual or a business and you want to advertise or sponsor in any way, shape, or form for any amount for Sooner Girl Sports Pod, just shoot me an email at soonergirlsportspod@gmail.com. And hang tight because here comes the amazing interview with the awesome Sherri Coale. And I will see you guys next Wednesday where we talk sports. I hope you all enjoy this interview with the awesome Sherri Coale, who is the former OU women's basketball coach for many, many years. If you're like me, you grew up watching OU women's basketball, and she's probably all you ever knew of women's basketball, period, if you lived in the state of Oklahoma. Sherri grew up about 30 minutes on the right side of the Red River in a small southern Oklahoma town that has a bunch of churches, places to eat, and one stoplight that felt pretty unnecessary most of the time. In the fourth grade, she was introduced to basketball, and by the fifth grade, she had fallen in love with it. Before she knew it, the game had become a roadmap for her entire life. She was the first female basketball all-stater at Healdton High School. She headed to Oklahoma Christian College on a full scholarship with the goal of getting a degree in education so that she could coach and teach. 4 years later, she graduated with a piece of paper that said she could do that, and so she did for a very long time. Her first job was at Edmond Memorial High School, where she was an assistant basketball coach and senior English teacher. She taught 6 classes a day without a planning period, coached basketball. Goodness. She coached basketball, drove the bus for games, and helped out with the volleyball team on the side. Those duties earned her at that time about 37 an hour. She thought she had died and gone to heaven. 2 years later, she took the head basketball girls coach at Norman, and 7 years and a couple of state championships later, she became the proverbial coaching poster child and was named the head coach of the University of Oklahoma with zero collegiate coaching experience at the ripe age of 31. During her 25 years of college basketball's biggest stage, her teams won multiple Big 12 championships, qualified for 19 straight NCAA tournaments, and earned their way into 3 Final Fours. She had the privilege of coaching 4 All-Americans, 14 WNBA draft selections, and a whole bunch of remarkable women who rewarded her still with their lives. In addition to working on the Oklahoma sideline, she had the extraordinary opportunity to participate in USA basketball as an assistant coach in 2001 and as the head coach of the 2013 World University Games, where their squad defeated Russia on their home floor to bring home the gold. From small town Oklahoma to the state's flagship institution to all the way around the globe, the game of basketball has been truly a vehicle for Sherri's life. When she walked away from basketball, she did it very intentionally. Coaching was beautiful, hard, rewarding, draining, amazing, fulfilling, and an incredible job that rarely felt like work to her. It was more fun than work most days, and she lived for the great gratitude of the journey. But things were on the list that were calling her past the sport. The one that made the most racket was for her to write. A writing life may seem to lie somewhere on the other side of the moon for someone in the life of athletics, but the two are very scary similar in things that it requires. They both are ridiculously hard, even if they sometimes look easy. The reward for either isn't what you get at the end, it's what you go through to get there. The process in both is the prize. In addition to writing, Sherri does a lot of public speaking, consulting, chasing her grandkids, and playing tennis, working in the garden, and can typically be found reading 3 or 4 books at a time. She's married to a very patient fisherman who's been her partner for 37 years. Their nest is empty, but their lives are full. 2 kids who still like them and have a lot of grandkids for them to chase around. They have a son-in-law and daughter-in-law, 2 beautiful added souls and values to their lives, and their granddaughters hold her heart in their hands. Blessings are everywhere that she looks, and those are in Sherri's own words from her website, sherricoale.com. I wanted to highlight a few of her career accolades before going forward to the interview. Women's Basketball Hall of Fame in 2016, Naismith Coach of the Year finalist in 2001-2002, Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame Class of 2020, USA Basketball World University Games Head Coach 2013, winningest coach in Oklahoma basketball history, Coale Cancer Fund past president, Coale Cancer Fund Board of Directors, the BCA past president, 4-time Big 12 Coach of the Year, 19 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances, 3 Final Fours, 6 Big 12 regular season titles, 4 Big 12 tournament titles, Coale Cancer Fund Impact Award, Oklahoma Christian College Hall of Fame, Norman High School Hall of Fame, and author of best-selling books Rooted to Rise and The Compost File. I hope that you guys enjoy this amazing episode with former OU women's basketball coach and amazing human being, Sherri Coale. And again, you can find her on Twitter/X at Sherri Coale, on LinkedIn, and also her website, sherricoale.com. And I will link all of that in the show notes. And you guys enjoyed this interview with amazing Sherri Coale.
I appreciate you giving me part of your day.
Absolutely. No worries. You got on a Saturday in Norman t-shirt. You're ready for football.
I'm so ready for just anything college sports. Sherri, I enjoyed meeting you at your book release party a few months ago, and I haven't gotten a chance to read it, but I'm just so excited to talk to you because I follow your blog and I read pieces of it each week, and I just think it's so cool what you're doing now, continuing your legacy and your platform, and you've come a long way in your life, and you're from small town southern Oklahoma, close to me, and so that's special to me. So I'm very excited to get to visit with you today.
Well, thank you for having me on, and thank you for all your support of University of Oklahoma and small town southern Oklahoma.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, I lived in Norman for 5 years when I was in school, and I was at OU from 98 to 2003, and I swore I would never come back, but here I am. Sometimes it's kind of like a black hole, but also I love it. So
yeah, it's a great place.
It is. Well, let's start back to the beginning of your basketball journey, just however far back you want to go, and what ignited your love for the sport and how you ended up at OU.
Well, I don't think you have enough time for that on your podcast. It's a long road, and it took a lot of years.
So
I fell in love with basketball when I was in the 3rd grade. Starla Cosper was the best player and the leading scorer on the Healdton High School girls basketball team. And I thought she was the coolest thing in the world. I wanted to be just like her. She asked me if I wanted to go to a basketball camp, and I said, absolutely, even though no one in my family played. And I went to Plainview basketball camp, where Healdton and Plainview were putting on a joint camp for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders together. And I fell in love with ball. And from that point forward, pretty much had a ball in my hand every single day until the last few years.
Wow, so, I love that. Yes.
Great journey. Great high school career, played for some amazing people and with some amazing folks, and had an opportunity to go to Oklahoma Christian, where I played for 4 years. And again, more amazing people, just shoulder brushes with people who imprinted my life indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
Then from Oklahoma Christian, went to Edmond Memorial, where I was an assistant coach for 2 years, and I taught senior English without a planning period, I might add. And I just thought it was amazing. And after 2 years at Edmond, I went on to Norman, where I taught English and was the head girls basketball coach for 7 years. And then one afternoon, a group of businessmen from town came into my office at Norman High School, which was a cinder block office under the north bleachers. And
wow.
They came in and said, we think you should apply for the OU job. And I said, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. Why are you day drinking? What are you doing? And they stated their case and left, and I didn't do anything about it. And they came back 2 weeks later and said, we really think you should do this. And I was like, really? And so I explored it a little bit and thought maybe I would give it a shot. And next thing you know, I'm a mile across town as the crow flies. And I was there for a quarter of a century.
That's crazy. But I'm so glad they came back a second time and pushed you to do that, because it changed your life for sure. And all of our Sooner fans as well. But yeah, I mean, I grew up knowing you as the coach in my childhood, and then of course my college days. And I have a lot of memories of seeing you over on the sideline. So I'm certainly glad that you decided to go for that one.
Thank you. I am too. It was a remarkable experience. What a way to spend a life.
Absolutely.
It was the joy and the privilege of a lifetime to be the architect of that program. It was just fantastic. Yes. And I'm so proud of them now. They're doing great.
They are doing fantastic. I was going to say that when someone leaves that's left such a mark on a program like you did, or Coach Stoops, for example, with football, and Patty, when she eventually parts ways with softball, it's hard to think of going forward without that person being there, because you've become the face of that sport and that program. But I feel like Coach Jenny has done an amazing job. And of course, I never want to say that someone is filling someone's shoes, because everyone has their own unique pair of shoes that can never be duplicated or filled, but you can still learn and carry on those traditions. And I think that she's done that very, very well. and she's done an exceptional job recruiting. And I'm super excited for the team that's coming in this fall. I know last year they had a great run, and of course we all kind of wished it could have gone a little further, but I think their time is coming, and I'm excited to see where the program goes. And I'm excited about freshman Alaya Chavez coming in. She's one that I've watched over some time, and I think she's going to be a great one. So yeah, Coach Jenny has done a good job continuing the traditions that you built and left behind for her.
She has. She has. I'm very proud of her and the program and excited to see what they do next.
I am too. Well, I remember a few years ago when they honored you at one of the basketball games, and it was just so surreal to me to think, where has time gone? And I'm sure you feel that way too, because part of me still feels like, wasn't it just yesterday that I was in college in the early 2000s? And wasn't it just yesterday that I was a kid going to these sporting events with my dad? And now here I am, I'm now 45 and a graduate of OU, very proud, obviously. And I look back over the years and think, where did the time go? So I'm sure you feel the same.
Yeah, you didn't need to tell me that you were 45 and you used to watch me when you were a kid. You didn't need to tell me that.
That was supposed to be a special thing.
No, but I think that's evidence of enjoying what you do and really feeling blessed by the life that you have, whether it's you as a fan or me as a coach. Time flies. It really does when you get your feet on the floor every morning and go do what you love. So I feel very blessed by that.
That's awesome. Well, my niece is 10, and she recently in the last year or so has developed quite a love for basketball. And this year she attended OU basketball camp, and she was there. I took her one day. We all tag team taking her. I got to sit there and watch her interacting with some of the coaches and the former players that were there. And it was just such a neat thing to see them interacting with the younger generation, the future of the sport and the future fans of our university. And it's something that I enjoy visiting with coaches and players about, is that legacy and that connection that you make and you have the opportunity to have with your fans and younger kids, because those kids look up to you as coaches and the players so much, and you're superstars to them. And you even still are today, even though you're a retired coach. But I loved watching those interactions. And then my niece was just starstruck, telling me all the names of the players that she got to interact with and the coaches and everything. And so again, that's one of my favorite things visiting with coaches, is talking about, we get to make an impact on future generations, future players, future fans. And I think that that's something that's very important. So I'm sure that's something that you enjoyed at your time at OU. So what's some of your favorite memories of interacting with some of the future generations, future players, and the younger kids back during your time at OU?
Oh gosh, so many camps, so many kids. It's hard to recall much specifically, but what I did love about camps was, number one, the opportunity to interact with our fan base, because most of the kids who were there, their parents were fans or season ticket holders. So getting to build those relationships with them where it's not just the one way, they see us, but we don't see them. So that was nice. But also, I love the opportunity for our players to get to participate and to teach and to be responsible in a gym.
Yeah.
You never really know anything until you teach it. And so when we put players in front of a group, some of them were comfortable, some of them were not. All of them got better over time as they had the responsibility of doing that. And not only teaching, but also being responsible for those kids, making sure that they get there, they are safe and they are where they're supposed to be, and that they're working the way they're supposed to be and paying attention and all those things. It's just a big responsibility. So it's a great tool for coaches. We're actually building our team while we're running a basketball camp and teaching kids. It was fun. It was hard. It was exhausting. Summers were long because you would fit those camps in between your recruiting trips. And recruiting calendar has changed quite a bit today from how it was then, but still a very busy summer. But one of the best possible fan base building things you can ever do is to run a camp.
Yes, that makes sense. Well, you mentioned squeezing in the camps amid everything else going on. And actually, the day that I took my niece, Coach Jenny and Peyton Verhulst and Reagan Beers were in Colorado for the Team USA trials. And so they weren't even there because they were doing that. So there were a lot of people filling in and doing their responsibilities and everything without them being there. But it's crazy to think about all the things that you guys do as coaches, and even the players, as now there's NIL and all that entails, but just the community involvement that everyone has and all the responsibilities. I mean, obviously it's an honor for Coach Jenny and then Reagan, who later they represented our school and our country. That's also just something else to do for them that is exhausting. So, I mean, I'm sure you can attest to that on many levels.
Yeah, USA basketball is such an honor, though. When I was an assistant coach for Gino, it took a big chunk of our summer because we were in the World University Games, which was a lead up Olympic year, much like this year's been. And there's travel to Colorado Springs to pick the team, to prepare the team. Then there's travel to typically what they call a friendly site, which is not the country where you're going to play, but where you get some international competition.
Right.
From the friendly site to the actual site of competition. We were in Brno, the Czech Republic, for 17 days one summer.
Wow.
No, they told us we were going to Prague. I'll never forget. Coale from USA Basketball said, "This will be a great trip. You should do this. We're going to go to Prague." And I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, that is a great trip." We were in Prague for approximately 36 hours. We were in Brno, the Czech Republic, for 17 days.
Wow. Okay.
But a great experience. And then when we went back, when I was a head coach for USA, we went to Kazan, Russia, and stayed in an Olympic village there, and were there for about 3 weeks. It does take a bit out of your summer, but you learn so much about yourself and other countries and international competition. I think it made me a better basketball coach too, to get those different perspectives. I will never forget the first time I watched China play, and I was just like, "Wait, what are they doing? I don't. What is this? I don't understand." It was just like a basketball in a foreign language. It really was.
Oh, wow.
They played so different. And so you pick up things and bring them back, and things translate a little more quickly now because of the internet, and everybody can get video clips of anybody across the world playing. And then it wasn't quite as it is now, but still, to your point about responsibilities, no one really knows all the things. People think about a coach's life. It's coaching your team and it's recruiting. Well, yes, those are each full-time jobs, but then there are about 40 others underneath that. So you meet yourself coming and going a lot. You better love what you do, because it's
that makes sense. Like you said, it's an honor to represent your country and your school on the world stage. You know, I've talked to one that comes to mind most recently is our current track coach at OU, James Thomas, and he was talking about, and track is something I didn't realize is literally almost a year-round thing and a 24/7 job. And he was talking about, well, you know, we wrapped up NCAAs in early June, and then each athlete goes and represents their country throughout the summer, and then we got to do all the recruiting stuff in between, and then cross country starts in the fall. And he's telling me all of these things, and I said, so you basically, you don't get a break. It's not like a normal 8 to 5 job, or I'm looking forward to Saturday for my break or whatever. It's literally nonstop. And so, like you said, it's crazy to think, I mean, yeah, you have to love what you do, or you wouldn't survive. But there's so many layers. And especially now, especially looking at the football program with NIL and all the things, it just adds more to the whole picture of it, and adds stress to the job. So I can only imagine how do you ever shut your mind off?
Well, you don't really. You don't have weekends, and you don't have summers, and you don't have evenings.
Yeah.
So, your family has to be willing to live that job with you. Unfortunately, mine was, and it all worked out great. And I had a ton of help, but it's not a thing that you can do by yourself. If you have a family and you try to compartmentalize them away from that job, you won't be able to hang on to your family, because that job is all consuming. So finding a way to make it all fit, you know, I mean, people do that in all walks of life.
They do.
Figure it out. And again, it's just easier to do if you really have a passion for it, obviously. And that's what keeps you going.
Absolutely. That makes complete sense. Okay, well, what are some of your favorite memories from your time at OU? I know you have the Final Four that year is one that sticks out to me, and I always think of some of my favorite players I recall, Stacey Dales and the Paris twins, of course. Just overall, like what were some of your favorite memories just through your time at OU?
Well, favorite always makes me think of like which of your children is prettiest or
Oh,
smartest. Can't
true.
tell you, but I there are some moments obviously that cement themselves,
Uh-huh.
and of course the first being the moment that we first knew we were going to the Final Four. So that was in the 2002 season was our
Uh-huh.
first Final Four, and that moment when you know you're going. There were about 12 minutes left in the game against Colorado. We were playing in Boise, and I just looked up at the scoreboard and I knew just by the way we
Uh-huh.
were playing, by the way Colorado was playing, we couldn't miss. They were frustrated. It was just one of those nights when everything's working, and I just looked up and I knew. And so I really feel so blessed by that particular experience because for those next 12 minutes of game time, which was probably 25 minutes of time,
Uh-huh.
I really got to just be in that moment and think about what it's going to be like. Because the moment that it happens, then you're on to, okay, who are we preparing for?
Yes.
What media do I have to do? But
Yes.
so I got that. It was just sort of the very intimate, just me and the idea that this team was going to get to go do that was just a surreal experience to have that. Obviously, the other two Final Fours and the moment that we knew we were going, the year that Courtney and Ashley were seniors when we won in Oklahoma City to earn the right
Yes.
to go. That was huge because it was such an Oklahoma crowd. The regionals here. We had two worthy opponents, and they were great games. And the roar was deafening of the hometown crowd. Just the number of people that were at the game made it just took it to a whole other level.
That's awesome.
So that was really special. Also, the third Final Four team that season may be one of my most rewarding, if not my most, because we were picked to finish fifth in the Big 12 conference that year. We had
Oh,
just
wow.
graduated, Courtney and Ashley,
Yes.
and we had Whitney coming back and
Uh,
Danielle. And so everybody thought, well, they'll be all right, but they won't be what they've been. And then Whitney gets hurt in a preseason tournament in the islands, and nobody expected us to do anything. And
mhm.
we not only did some things, we went to the Final Four. And so to be able to go with that group and just watch them sort of roll with the punches and get their chair pulled out from under them and get kicked in the knees and just to keep coming back and finding a way to do what they said they wanted to do was really extraordinary. Abby Olajuwon recreated herself physically, mentally, emotionally to be ready to lead that team at the block that year and take the place of Court.
Mhm.
Everybody on the floor, from Jasmine Hartman to Carly Roethlisberger to Naisha Stevenson, had to pick up slack that we lost from Whitney, all the scoring potential and the leadership and the vocal presence that she was. And then
Mhm.
Danielle had to be Danielle, with everybody in the world knowing that what she was going to do, one or two dribbles right or left and shoot a pull up. And she still got one or two dribbles left or right and got a pull up. It was amazing. But just that group of kids pulling the best out of themselves and each other, it's just such a rewarding experience. And
That's
then I'll
awesome
just
to hear.
mention one more moment, which
Oh, yeah.
came in the COVID season when everybody was, opting out. I'm not going to play, or we're not going to go on that trip, or whatever.
Mhm.
Teams were making their decisions about why they would or wouldn't play, and no judgment there. You do what you have to do. It was
Right.
uncharted territory, and we were all figuring it out.
It was.
But it turned out that our first conference game was at Kansas, and we were down to 6 players because of COVID tracing and,
Oh,
contact
my
tracing and all that
goodness.
business. And
Yeah.
we went to Lawrence, Kansas with 6. And we had one assistant coach had to stay home. Our strength coach had to stay home. We had all these people quarantined.
Oh, my goodness.
Brown went on the plane with us and actually handed out water at timeouts because we didn't have any managers. It was
Oh,
crazy. And we were ahead till the final 4 minutes. We fouled one out. We only had 5 players and we had no point guard and we didn't have our center. And we did everything but win. But it was one of those where you go in the locker room afterward and you didn't even really need to win. Now the players were brokenhearted, they were sobbing.
of
It
course.
was such a teachable moment because they got to feel what it feels like to give all of yourself toward a thing. It's
Yes.
not about whether you win or lose at the end. It's really not. It's
Mm-hmm.
about, can you empty yourself in the pursuit of something? And they all learned how to do that there in that moment. And so that locker room is one of my favorite, even though it didn't give us the outcome that we wanted. It was a very special experience. And I think probably pretty pivotal in the lives of those student athletes.
Oh, absolutely. I was just talking with our current drum major, Hallie, and she was talking about her COVID year in high school and how that affected her and changed her as a person, but also helped her grow and learn and has helped her develop into the leader that she is today. So I'm assuming, I know that those girls can probably all say the same thing. And again, COVID's one of those things. Looking back, it kind of feels like 5 minutes ago, but it also feels like 10 years ago.
Right.
So it's kind of weird to think about, but that was definitely some uncharted waters that I would prefer to never have anything to do with ever again. Well, you have a lot of personal accolades yourself on top of your teams and your coaching. And I've never heard anybody say one bad thing about you as a person. And so I know that has to mean a lot to you. And I know that you come across to me as a very humble person, like you're not going to toot your own horn, so to speak, but you have a lot to be proud of and a lot that you've accomplished in your life. And that has to feel special to you. So what's one of your favorite things personally that you feel like you've developed over life, or one of your favorite accomplishments or lesson that you've learned just in your lifetime?
That's an enormous question. The thing I'm most proud of is two confident, healthy children.
Absolutely.
I have two grown children who are confident and competent and healthy and happy. And I count that as our greatest blessing. I cannot take
Absolutely.
credit for that. Yes, I did bear them. However, they have a father and they have a grandmother and they had a granny and they had a granny and a papa, and they have a lot of people who helped turn them into these amazing humans that I find them to be. But I think that a similar response would be to what I'm most proud of are the players. Stacey Dales is on the NFL Network, obviously.
Yeah.
I was watching TV the other morning and she was in her studio at her house in Chicago, and they had gone to her live and she was talking about the Bears preseason game. And my book, Rooted to Rise, was on the shelf behind her. And I text her, girl, you can't pay for this kind of marketing. They went to break. She sent back, anything for you, coach, with a bunch of heart emojis. And it's just having those relationships, throughout the years and watching people become incredibly successful at their career or incredibly happy in their relationships, have children, watching their children excel. I try to, those players that are local who have kids in youth sports, I'll try to go to at least a game. And sometimes I can figure out where, one player's team is playing another former player's team.
Oh, yes.
2 or 3 kids at one sitting.
Yes.
So fun to go watch them pour back into their kids and to other young kids, and just to watch them be tremendous human beings, to figure it out and to fail and succeed and rise up every time and try to do the next day better. That's really the greatest source of pride. You forget, I have no idea how many games we won, no idea even how many conference championships we won. I just know we went to 3 Final Fours, and that's the extent of my statistical knowledge. But boy, I remember a lot of moments with players, after a game, in the locker room, before practice, in my office, rebounding in the practice gym, late at night, just all that stuff. Our best memories and our most massive accomplishments always have to do with other people. They're always about others. So
yes,
I was just blessed to have fabulous assistant coaches and an amazing roster of kids through the years who impacted me every bit as much as I impacted them.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, you mentioned Stacey, and I, of course, follow her on all the social media, and I enjoy seeing her journey and what she's doing now. And it's so cool to me to see our former players and athletes and former coaches just across the world these days and whatever they're doing next. And I, of course, follow Coach Stoops when he coaches the Renegades, and I see all these former athletes and whether they're still playing their sport or whatever they're doing. And it brings me great joy just as a fan, just as somebody who's watched them, quote, grow up over the years, whether they're my age or younger or whatever. So I can only imagine how you feel as someone who had a direct impact in their life. So that's really cool to see. And of course, we have a lot of great former Sooners that represent our university well across the world. So that's really cool to see. So I know you talked a little bit about this when I saw you at your book release party, but what prompted you once you decided to retire and you thought, hey, I think I'm going to write a blog. I think I'm going to write a book. Let's talk just a little bit about that so that other people can hear that as well.
Well, it wasn't an afterthought. It was a thing that I decided I wanted to do. And it's one of the reasons that I passed the baton of coaching, because as we've already discussed, when you're coaching, there is no time for anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And during COVID, I had an opportunity to write an article for Soonersports.com. The sports information director asked me if I would do that, and I did. And I realized how much I enjoyed it. It's such a happy place for me. It's what makes my heart sing. And so I had an opportunity throughout COVID when that, it's slow and you can think more than we had thought
Yes.
years and decades. And I just had enough time and enough bandwidth to think about how I really wanted to spend the next phase of my life, the next season.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to write. And so when I passed the baton, I took my laptop out into the backyard and I started to do that. And I wrote and wrote and wrote. And the first collection of stories became book one, which was Rooted to Rise. And then I kept writing the blog. And the second set of stories became The Compost File, which is the book that just came out earlier this year. So I try to write every day. My writing schedule flipped a little bit this past year because I kept my second granddaughter every day. So
How fun.
I didn't always have time to write, but I did write every week and continued with the blog. So for 4 years now, I guess, and going on 5, I've been publishing a blog every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock.
I love it. I love that. Me starting to do this podcast was something like you talked about. You just decided you were going to go and start writing because it brought you joy and you enjoyed that. And that's really what happened with me. I just thought, hey, I'm going to do this. And it's given me a great opportunity to connect with people. And of course, I kind of fangirl a little bit too, even when I talk to these students, our current athletes and coaches. And I'm in awe of getting the opportunity to get to share other people's stories on my platform, no matter how big or small it may be. I just think it's so cool that you have taken your desire and your passion to writing and you've used that to create books. And now you've done a few book release parties and you're connecting with people. And again, I think that's kind of just what life is all about, is connecting, like you mentioned, just investing in people and connecting with them. And for me, I've had so many people. Just the other day, I talked to our twirler as well, and she's super young and our drum major. And they were just like, thank you so much for giving me a voice, for giving me a platform to speak. And I say that because that's something that's important to me as a fan. Is I love to hear, like, what made you want to be a twirler? How did you get here? Or me asking you, like, how did you become a coach? I love to hear people's stories and what got them where they are today. And I think that it's important to share that because it impacts other people, and other people hear that and maybe it inspires them to pick up a basketball or pick up a baton or go start gymnastics or put their kid in gymnastics, whatever. And I think there's just so many opportunities. And of course, I'm sure you agree, like the internet, pros and cons, social media, pros and cons, all the things. But I try to focus on the silver lining in that it creates a platform for us to impact people. And I think it's important to capitalize on that the best that we can. And so that's really what I try to do in whatever small corner of the world that we have. I think we've been entrusted with it, and God gives us our desires and our passions. And I think we just make the best of it and go on. So I love to hear that you've done that, and just, it's cool to see how you have turned your passions into something that can impact other people. And I think that's great.
Thank you very much. I count it a privilege and a blessing to be able to do it. And it may seem like writing is entirely different from playing ball or coaching, but it's really not, because they're both really hard.
Yeah.
And you have to get up every day and put your butt in the chair and do the work. And
That's so true.
doing hard things is portable. So it's just wherever
Yes.
your passion lies. Once you know that you can do hard things in one area, you transfer it to another and do the same thing.
That's so true. That's so true. I always tell people, not everyone loves sports like I do, and that's totally fine because they have other passions that may sound awful to me, like I'm not a gardener or I don't like to cook, things like that. But those people use those desires and passions to bless other people and teach other people and grow as a person themselves. And so I'm just trying to do the same thing. So I like you said, it's all hard work. It's just whatever you enjoy doing. And I think it's important to focus on what you enjoy and not like, I'm not good at that, or I don't like that. Okay, well, let's find something else to focus on. And so I think that that's an important thing, that people need to focus on the good, focus on the silver lining, and
Always a way to make a difference.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, do you have any other closing thoughts or anything you want to share before we wrap up?
Nope, just appreciate you and the platform you provide.
Well, I appreciate you so much for giving me part of your time. It means the world to me that you gave me part of your day.
I appreciate you, Larissa, and thanks for your support of the university.
Absolutely.